Hello and welcome to the Graham Sibbald podcast. I'm Georgia McAndrew and I'll be taking today's episode. We are joined today by not one but two members of the Graham Sibbald team. I know, what a treat. On this week's episode we're talking all about the Party Wall Act. So sit back, relax and enjoy this week's episode of the Graham Sibbald podcast. Hi Chris and Sam, welcome back to the podcast. How are you both?
Very well, thank you.
Good, thank you.
Good, glad to hear it. So, Chris, you have already been on the podcast before, but Sam, you're a total newbie, so I'm sure you're delighted to be here.
I am.
Great. I thought it'd be really helpful if you could give us a little rundown of your role at GNS.
Yeah, sure. Well, my name's Sam Gulliver. I've been with GNS for the last 4 months. I'm a director within the London office, and I lead the building surveying and technical services down in London. My background is in the building surveying technical services for professional, largely being one of the areas being Party Wall.
Brilliant. So I'm so glad that you mentioned the Party Wall Act because that's what we're here to speak about today. So Chris, what exactly is the Party Wall Act and how does it affect the parties undertaking building works?
Okay, so the Party Wall Act is described as an enabling act, as it grants the owners of property the legal right to undertake certain works that might otherwise be considered, or would have traditionally have been considered, trespass or nuisance. So it protects the adjoining owners as they must be given notice before works can start. So the areas covered by the Act at the moment are England and Wales, so it's not relevant in Scotland. And the Act also provides a statutory obligation, so it should be treated as though it is like a planning application or building regulations. So it's important that people take note of the Party Wall Act.
Okay, cool. And with that all in mind, Sam, I guess I'm going to go to you. What sort of guidance and legislation is available?
Yeah, sure. The Party Wall procedure comes out of an act called the Party Wall, etc. Act 1996, which governs the way in which parties notify each other prior to undertaking any building works in proximity to adjoining owners. Currently, the RICS, the Pyramid and Frisbee Club, and the Faculty of Party Wall Surveyors currently write guidance notes on the subject, and they largely are the parties involved in the process. But I guess you take it as this is a legal process in which whatever is agreed within the under the Party Wall Act is a legal process for which owners are bound by on the conclusion of the Party Wall awards.
Chris, coming back to you, what work falls under the Party Wall Act exactly?
I'll give a little bit of a definition first and then go on to the works that are affected.
Great.
So Party Wall has two definitions under the Act in section 20. So it can either be a wall standing on the land of two owners or the part of a wall standing on the land of one owner that separates the building of two owners. And there's a couple of other areas that are affected as well. So a party wall could also be a floor or a partition separating different parts of a building, each with a separate staircase or entrance, so they're essentially different properties. And this would be termed a party structure. And you could also have a party fence wall. So this would be a freestanding wall that's not part of a building, and it would usually be built on the boundary between two properties. And an example of this would be a garden wall. And then finally, from a definition perspective, there's also special foundations, and these are foundations that are used using beams or rods, and they tend to distribute load through a building. So Section 2 of the Act grants the right to undertake certain types of work to the boundary structures. So they were the structures that we just previously described. And these structures are generally jointly owned by the building owner and the adjoining owner. So the type of work that you could do would include underpinning, thickening of a wall, physically building a wall up or raising a wall, major repairs, demolition and rebuilding, cutting into a wall or significant cutting into, cutting off projections and then reducing the height of a wall. Something like just drilling into a wall to hang a picture wouldn't require party wall notice.
Okay, great. And for those that are listening, Sam, what types of notices do you have to serve?
Yeah, so there's sort of four forms, but they come under three headings. One is a section 1 notice, which is a line of junction, where you're building upon the line in which the owner's properties lie. The second is a party structure notice, which is defined as works on a party wall, such as what Chris has just mentioned, which is things like projections, cutting and flashings, and doing repairs to a party wall. And then section 6, which is split into two sections. You've got a section 6.1, which is a 3 metre excavation notice, where you're carrying out excavation within 3 metres of an adjacent property, and section 6.2, which is where you're carrying out excavation within 6 metres of an adjoining property. Each of them have parameters in which they comply. Just because you're excavating within that distance, it doesn't mean that you fall within the Party Wall Act. There are quite defined requirements in regard to the notice under that section. So if you are carrying excavations, I would strongly recommend that you do contact us before you excavate, just to let you know whether that does come under section 6 of the Act.
Yeah, that's some really helpful advice. And how can Graham and Sibbald assist with party wall disputes and solutions?
What we can do is we can help administrate the process, because what you've got to remember is the Party Wall Act is a legal process in which needs to be administrated. So we would, in essence, carry out a review of your proposed works, ensure that that the works are requiring notification under the Act, and then we would serve what we call a party wall notice on the adjoining owners that are going to be affected by the works. And then subsequently, if we do require to publish an award, we can administer and prepare the award on behalf of the party undertaking the works. On the other side, we can also help the adjoining owner who is having works done next door to them in order to administrate the works and ensure that the works are being done in a diligent way, in order to ensure that they're sort of not going to affect their property long term.
Great. And last but not least, Chris, where can we find out more?
So I think the best thing to do to find out more would be to talk to a professional. So you could contact Sam in our London office, or I'm based in Graham and Sibbald's Manchester office. The RSCS also publish guidelines which are helpful and can give you an insight into the Party Wall Act, but it can get quite complicated quite quickly, so the advice would be to talk to a professional.
Great. Well, thank you, Chris and Sam, for your time today. It's been so nice having you both on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Thanks, guys. Big thanks to Chris and Sam for both of their time today. If you have any questions around today's episode or would like to find out more, please visit our website at www.g-s.co.uk. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to the next one.